I could be a leader if companies thought of people like me as leaders. And so it's
Yes,
not
that
just
part.
that, right? It's not just that like I need to see somebody who looks like me. No, I need to see companies that respect people who look like me.
Yes.
You are tuned in to the Money Script Podcast. Today, we will share strategies to help you grow your financial literacy and improve your money script. I'll be back with some important announcements. Until then, enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Johannes Harrison. So happy to be with each and every one of you today. It is a beautiful day, and I'm glad that you decided to hit the play button and get your dose of financial literacy. I am so excited to be graced with the presence of someone who I am deeply grateful to. She's been an incredible force in helping me become a better public speaker and get more opportunities in the public speaking space. And she is also one of the co-founders of an organization that I'm a part of and very proud to be a part of. And I hope that some of you get to be a part of it one day soon as well. So I'd like to introduce Sonya Dreizler. Did I do it right?
Hi. Yep.
Did it right. Okay,
Yeah.
just checking. Y'all know how I am on names. People butcher my name so much, so I want to make sure I get it right. And there are different ways to say Sonya because there's also
Yes. Yep.
Sonya.
Yep. And
So,
Drizler.
and Dreizler, I had to have you say that one because that's not what I was going to say.
Yep. But you got it right. Perfect. 10
I
out of
appreciate
10.
it.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
And
So
thank you for
we're
taking the care to get it right. I appreciate it.
indeed. I mean, this is going to live forever, so it might as well be
Oh,
there, in the right way.
yes.
So we are going to talk a little bit about being a minority. We're going to talk about her organization, Choir. But before we get into that, I do want to take a brief moment just to give you a quick dose of a financial product that you should think about as to whether or not it should be something that you own. And that financial product is disability insurance. It's something you can get from an insurance agent. You may also have it through your work as an option where you can get a portion of your income covered, meaning they will pay you that money if you were to become disabled. Now, this product is very near and dear to my heart because when I was a teenager, my mother became disabled and she did not have any disability insurance. And that affected our household tremendously. Because not only was my mother now out of work without any income, but it also affected the way that my father worked. Because now he had to take care of the kids and take care of mom, get her back and forth to her doctor's appointments, et cetera, et cetera. Now, eventually, we were able to get Social Security disability, but it took my mother 26 months to qualify for Social Security disability. Okay. Because every time she went to go try to get it, they told her, well, you don't look disabled to me. And my mother's disability was epilepsy. So, yeah, she didn't have a seizure while sitting in the Social Security office. And that's what we began to think like, okay, how do we trigger a seizure when you're there? So then they see that you aren't able to work because they were just happening anytime. They took her license away. I mean, so
Oh
she
my
had one while
goodness.
driving. Fortunately, it was in a parking lot while in reverse. Her foot didn't hit the gas. And all she hit was some shopping carts. But disability insurance is something you should definitely think about, especially if you have a family and especially while you're young. I'm 43 years old and I've had my share of some medical things going on that I'm very happy that I have disability in place already. Okay. Now I'm not disabled. I'm fine, but I got some stuff that I got to take care of. And one of the things that come to mind is, okay, well, what if this took me out of work for a period of time? I mean, what I'm going through isn't that serious. Don't let my doctor hear this. If you hear this, yes, I know it's something serious and you take seriously, but it's not something that's going to take me out of work for an extended period of time. Knocking on wood. But if it did, I'm happy that I have coverage in place so that we can still get the mortgage paid, still keep food on the table, etc. So your homework assignment, go look at your employer benefits, see if it's something that's offered, see if you're taking advantage of it. If you're not, then definitely put it on your list of things to do when the next open enrollment comes up. And also look to see if maybe you can get some additional disability insurance outside of what's being offered by your employer. And disability insurance, in my opinion, is just like auto insurance, just like your home insurance. You don't like to have to pay for it, and you hope to never have to use it. So what does that mean? Hopefully it's a complete waste of money. That's a good thing. If you waste money on disability insurance, that's a good thing because that means you stayed healthy. Okay. So with that, that's our financial literacy topic for today. We'll put some more information in the show notes so you can learn more about it. Or if you'd like to get a quote based on what your profession is and what you're doing, combined with what you have, we have some resources for you to get that. So with that, Sonya, let's talk a little bit about choir.
Yes,
So what is choir?
I loved the education piece though, and it's so important. I just imagine, you just don't know when you're going to need it either. You don't get to plan for when something happens to you.
True. And that's the thing. It happens to you. Sometimes those things just happen to you. I mean, you get car accident. I had a client that was riding her bike and someone hit her while she was riding a bike. She's okay. She wasn't disabled, but that was one of the things she thought. Was like, oh my gosh, what if I can't get up? What does that mean? So yeah, a lot of times it's just the things that happen to you. And it's not always injuries. It's not always illnesses. Right. Okay. So, and that's what you want to have the coverage for.
Yes. Unpredictable.
Yes.
That's what insurance is for, right? Those unpredictable moments.
Unpredictable moments. For those that have ever seen not one of his best movies, Chris Rock has a movie called Head of State. If you, it's where I think he was riding his bike and got hit by a car and he died and went to heaven and he had to go back and embody someone else's body or something. I'm maybe messing the plot up, but anyways, he embodied an individual that was the head of an insurance company. In the outtakes of that film, at the very end, he's given a presentation and he says, and I think it was one of the best quotes about insurance. He said, insurance, all it really is in case shit. In case shit happens, that's what insurance is for. And I was like, yeah, that's it. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So.
It is. I've had to use not disability, but other insurance and actually got the benefit from it and had to use it and, wish I had not, but wish I was not in the opportunity the thing that made
be there.
An insurance payout happen, but was very grateful to have the financial help to get sorted. It was car stuff and to be able to get, be able to have a functional car. That's super helpful.
Yes. And that's the thing, a car fixable. Sometimes our bodies not.
Yeah.
So that's, So that's the other thing about having it before something happens, because if you try to get it after it happens, they might say, oh, well, yeah, we'll give you the insurance, but we're not going to cover you for that because that already happened. So.
Right.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about choir again. I'm really excited to be a part of choir.
Thanks. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, and I got my first inquiry. You see what I did there?
We're gonna have to work that in. I'm making a note to tell Liv she loves a good pun.
She loves a good pun. There's my pun for the day. Got my first inquiry, which means we won't call it a conference. A conference has asked for me to potentially be one of their panelists, and they found me through the choir website. So thank you. For allowing me to be featured on your site. So let's tell everybody what the site is. How did it come into play? Why do you exist? Well, not why you individually. Why does choir exist?
You don't want to talk about the meaning of life, why we exist. It's a different podcast. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me back up just very briefly, give my sort of history why I do this work, because I think it is important to to how we got to where we are with choir. So I've worked in financial services for over 20 years now. I started in the broker dealer and RIA space. I started as an executive assistant and ended up at the same company many, many, many years later as the CEO. And so, it's a good story. And of course, when I tell it like that, it sounds like a straight line, and it absolutely was not a straight line. There were a lot of diversions along the way, and I learned so so much about the industry, and also was kind of at the same time really sheltered because it was an older firm and like small, mid-size, maybe 100 people total, all in with advisors and employees and everything. And so enough going on that I didn't get out of there very much. And so I both learned a lot internally, a lot about the financial services space, and also did not see a lot of what else was going on of the outside of my little bubble. And then I did start venturing out, and especially once I was an executive, started going to conferences and had kind of a realization that, oh wow, like this industry is um, not built for me,
Mm.
and I don't fit in. I mean, I felt that all the time, and in fact, the few networking things that I went to early in my career, I just thought I didn't know enough, or I didn't know what I was doing. I could not identify why it was so uncomfortable for me to be at them. And now looking back, I can see, oh yeah, because I didn't have any peers there. I was often the only woman, often the youngest one in the room. Um, and almost always the only young woman. And I could tell that people didn't take me seriously, even when I was at the executive level. People
Mm.
didn't take me seriously. People assumed I was an assistant or somebody's wife, or there was a lot of harassment, discrimination, and so all of the things that we're working to solve for at Choir are things that I've experienced. And after we actually ended up selling that firm in 2016. I did some consulting and some speaking and some writing, and my work took me, of course, to a lot of conferences. And so I saw the same thing over and over, which was that who we're listening to, who is on stage, who we see as leaders, and who our companies and organizations put on stage as leaders for other people to learn from. It was a lot of the same people over and over and over, and it was almost all white men. It
Oh,
has
no, 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 no. Let's use it with your partner. Let's use her term. And you can go back and hear this on an earlier podcast. She referred to it as pale, male, and stale.
yes,
Yes.
the lineups do tend to be that way. It's gotten a little better since
It has, because I'm not pale. I am male, and I'm definitely not stale.
yeah, it's definitely gotten better in the last, I don't know, 10 years, but it's not fast enough.
Yeah.
And so we're really working to accelerate that at Choir. And so at Choir, we are focused on amplifying the voices of people of color, women, and non-binary professionals. We do that primarily in finance and tech, but a lot of the things that we do are now sort of industry agnostic. We did start in finance, but um, most of our offerings can go into are relevant in a number of fields, but we're focused on finance and tech for now.
So, to all of my medical students and residents out there listening, especially those that fit into those categories, I know that has been a complaint. I go to your conferences, and I know that's a complaint that I've heard from some of you, is that a lot of your conferences tend to be a little male and pale, maybe not as much stale, because yeah, it is medicine. So I guess to me, kind of it always seems stale. Maybe it's pretty invigorating to you, but I know that that is an initiative that, especially in the health equity space, that a lot of you, and we've had some guests on the podcast as well that have talked about some of the changes they're looking to do in the industry, especially at those conferences. Because think about it, as professionals, that's where a lot of us go to get things like our continuing education, whether it's in the medical field or the finance field. In the tech field, a lot of times you're going to learn about new systems and processes and technology. It's a way to network. I mean, conferences are an important part of our professional lives. And the people that get put on stage, they get to reflect the people that are in the audience, and it gets to reflect the people they want to attract. And Sonia, that's what's so interesting to me about the role that you were in is that when I started in the industry 25 years ago now, I found myself being the only or one of the only at a lot of the conferences that I went to. But from the stage, they were giving us all these presentations about how basically women were going to rule the financial world, how
Yeah,
women were
I've
going
heard
to
that
inherit all this
presentation.
wealth. Yeah.
I've been
But it's
hearing that since I started too. I'm like, all right, so when's it gonna happen?
but still it wasn't being presented by a woman, so it didn't seem, and that's the thing, I didn't always get the energy. It was almost like as if sometimes in the presentation it's almost as if they were complaining, like,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to
yeah,
deal with this, and so that always felt a little odd to me. And strangely enough, the majority of my clients, if I were to segment them, they're women. So it's turning out to be true.
true for
Mhm.
your practice.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
great.
So tell me, when choir, when you started choir, what were some of the initial goals and initiatives that you were working towards?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask that because when you were talking about medical conferences, I was just remembering the day that we launched choir. We have two primary things, and I actually think your audience would probably be most interested in hearing about the Voices platform, the thing that you're on, where you got your, where you're getting your speaking inquiries and speaking training and resources. But when we started, we hadn't built that product yet. And we started out with a certification for conferences. So we look at a conference agenda. We have an algorithm that looks at not just who's speaking, but how visible each speaking role is. And we create what's called the choir score between 1 and 100 that essentially assesses and quantifies how well a conference represents the voices of people of color, women, specifically women of color, and non binary folks in comparison to the US population. And so it's a diversity certification for conferences. And we can also help, we have a bunch of other solutions now to help conferences increase the diversity on their agenda and the inclusiveness of their events so that they can get the certification. But when we first launched day one, we got emails from people who had seen the press release and the news articles and had several emails from people saying, when are you coming to healthcare? We know you're
Hmm.
in finance. When are you coming to healthcare? I'm like, we launched today. So let me, how about tomorrow? um, so I know that it's an issue there. And in fact, we've been in conversation with a number of healthcare organizations as well. So I know this is a pretty persistent issue in that space. I know finance is not alone, and it's one of the reasons that we made the conference services more industry agnostic because it's the same challenges in different industries. They present a little bit differently, but it's the same challenges, and that's the way things have always been done, and the history that we in the present moment sit on top of, right? Like in financial services specifically, it has been historically and still is overwhelmingly run by white men in positions of power who have a lot of wealth. I mean, the, the first bond ever sold was a bond on an enslaved person. Like that's our industry.
Yep. Hmm.
The like Wall Street was built by enslaved people. Like this is the industry that we are trying to transform. And so there's just a lot of history there. And it's very hard to change it. I should say it's not hard. It takes intention. It takes intention and a lot of people to make big change. And so that's what we're working on and do focused really on both the conference and the media space. And we see those same I don't know the medical profession as well, but as finance, but my husband actually is a anatomy and physiology professor, and so I hear some of it, and I know that there's some of those same issues in the medical profession as well. Henrietta Lacks, right? Is the
Henrietta Lack.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, we are dealing with a lot of common challenges, and really, our focus at Choir. I don't want to get into like a long history lesson. I should get back to what we
Oh
do at
no,
Choir.
you got my brain. I'm a history nut.
Okay,
Love
okay.
history. So you mentioned about one of the first bonds. Also, if you want to have a little research fun on your own, go research some of the top insurance companies coming out of the what is that, Western European countries, and in the United States, and find out what they were underwriting back in the early 1600s and 1700s and 1800s. It
Yep,
was people.
yep,
That's what they were underwriting. Black people,
yep.
slaves to be exact.
Mhm.
There are insurance. They built and you know these companies today, and you may have them. I have them as companies I do business with because they're still kind of the best in the business. They
Right.
learned a lot.
Yep.
They learned a lot, but they built their organization on insuring slaves.
Right.
Yep. They learned a lot about risk and longevity and actuarial table. Oh, yep. But
Right.
that's the country, and that is what we are working to I don't want to say change because that part has already changed, but we're working to help improve the diversity of what is being said from stage.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good for everybody. It's not just I don't I've heard so many times, especially when I was a young woman, in this primarily male field. So many times I heard the phrase, like "see it, be it." Like you can't be it if you haven't had the example of it. And to a certain extent, I do think that's fair and it's true. It's good to have leaders who look like you, and also when I was young and in the industry, I knew that I was really skilled and that I was good at this thing that I sort of landed in, did not intentionally land in finance, but I was good at it. Um, and I could tell that my skills weren't being fully utilized and that I was not, when I left my small little bubble of the company I worked in, I was not respected for my thoughts. And so I knew that could like I could be a leader if companies thought of people like me as leaders. And so it's
Yes,
not
that
just
part.
that, right? It's not just that like I need to see somebody who looks like me. No, I need to see companies that respect people who look like me
Yes.
and organizations. And so it is, I mean, it's great, of course, to see folks on stage for the sort of broad mentorship reasons, but also it's important for everyone. It's important for white men to see people of color and especially women of color on stage in leadership roles. It changes who you see as a leader, who you respect, what your initial thoughts are when you meet somebody. And of course, different people all bring their different life experiences and backgrounds and have unique perspectives to share. And so when we keep hearing from the same people, and I do really mean the same people, like the same individual people keep
Same people. It's
speaking over and over,
over and
um,
over. It's
we're
like
not.
because a lot of times I see the conference, I'm like, let me see. Bet so and so, so and so, and so and so will be there. And sure enough, they're like, yep, here
Yeah.
they are. Hmm.
I've been to that conference last year.
Yeah,
Same
I've seen
same
that
lineup.
already. Seen
Yep.
that one already. Yep.
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 And so it's, bringing in a wider array of voices and perspectives is good for all of the conference attendees. It's good for the conferences too, because it broadens who will attend your conference. We have heard once we started doing the work that we do, we've heard from so many people specifically women of color who just say, I just don't go. I don't go to those
No, they
conferences.
don't. Yeah, I have to drag some of them out, and you know who you are. You're probably listening right now. Where I've said to you, "Come on, come to this conference." It's just going to be me. Yes,
Uh-huh.
but someone else might see you there, so that
Mhm.
next time they're like, "Okay, she was brave enough to blaze this trail. I'm going to come too."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. That's what
Yeah,
we have.
yeah, and the conference organizers have a responsibility to put people, to put people on stage, new perspectives, new ideas, and more representative of the industry that we want to have, one that is more reflective of the entire population of the United States, that our industry would do well to serve well.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so that was a long answer to your question
Hey,
that yes,
I love
we
interviews like
launched.
this. 2 questions, and I become like the best interviewer ever. 2 questions and I'm done. We're good. I
Right.
do have a follow-up question
Yeah.
though, because I do work with I have clients that actually I have multiple clients that were in DEI roles that aren't in those roles anymore because
Because the
multiple companies
budget
had
was
these
cut.
big budgets in during the pandemic and George
Mhm.
Floyd.
Big
It
promises
was
in
it
around, like,
made all these
August
promises. It was
2020
a
maybe.
headline.
Mhm.
Oh, we're DI this, that. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, we're actually going to cut those budget. And I've seen entire um,
Yep.
um, organizations just get decimated.
I've seen
So,
it.
I was curious, how is that affecting the work that you all are doing with Choir and Voices with some of these organizations that are in charge of putting these conferences together? Have you seen it to be an issue over the last 12 months?
It's interesting because the conferences that are working with choir are opting into this work, right?
Mm.
Um this is a service that they need to want. And so the folks that we see tend to already be, they understand the necessity for putting a wider variety and more representative group of people on stage. They see
So
the
it's not
why.
a fad for them.
No, although some of them are pushed internally, and
Mm.
that's why they do it. But we tend to work with groups that are already like they see, they understand why they're here. But I have a lot of conversations with folks and who may or may not be supportive of our work, and um, those also have changed in the last year or so. And it's it's troubling uh, on a broader sense, not necessarily for choir, but it is certainly the things that I hear is disappointing. It's troubling, like folks who have, I mean, because of the larger political and legal landscape with the groups suing the Fearless Fund and um, taking all these like historical protections for that were put in place for Black folks, and then turning it around and saying that those need to protect white men. Um, I've seen companies shy away now from
Mm.
DEI work that they were doing, and clearly they weren't really doing the work; they were just saying the work. If you can just turn it off like that,
That
um,
is true.
yeah, but like they are renaming the diversity initiative or whatever to be bright ideas, or whatever, some like not like just not even owning that word, which is just like a pretty mellow word, but one
Pretty
that
much.
they think will
Especially in
invite.
finance. That's one we throw that around all the time. Diversity,
Yes.
diversifying your portfolio. All right, well,
Mhm.
diversify your board. How about
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
said the quiet part out loud. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. And so I have seen that. I've seen people whose roles have been cut, or they're just asked to do way more now. And I'm like, well, you did the DEI thing, it's fixed now. So can you also do?
Oh, it's fixed? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's fixed. You didn't
Yeah.
know? We did
I
that.
think I didn't get the memo. Maybe I do have a stack of mail I haven't opened yet, so maybe it's in there.
We fixed that. It just
Oh,
2 years, 3 years, we're good. We're good.
okay.
Don't
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
I'll
okay.
fix now.
Yeah, yeah.
So can you like take on these other things? So yeah, I've seen that a lot. I've heard from people who are like, well, we think inclusion is important, and we think what you're doing at choir is really more like exclusion because it excludes white men. I'm like, yeah,
Aren't
it
they
doesn't.
already there? No, never mind.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't actually exclude white men.
No.
We
I mean,
have
they sometimes they may self-exclude themselves, so that's on them. But
sometimes they include themselves. We
Mhm.
have had a number of folks try to be a part of voices, even though it's really clear in all of our wording. This is, who this is for. This is a resource that we've built specifically for people of color, women, non-binary folks. But they've included themselves there too. And of course, we have to have a conversation with them about that. It's a little bit awkward, but I do awkward fine. Anyways, yes, have seen that, and it is disappointing to hear those perspectives because we're not trying to exclude people. We're trying to build a bigger table that it welcomes everybody, and we're giving resources, training, and professional development to underrepresented folks, and giving a platform for journalists and conference organizers to find experts who are from underrepresented groups. We love the work, and it is an interesting environment to be doing the work in right now.
well, we appreciate you, and I am so honored, as I said, that I was fortunate enough to be a part of the organization. I love the work you're doing. I love the resources. I think I've watched all the videos, a few of them
Oh,
twice. I've taken you up on the one-on-ones, and I learned so much from it. So if you are interested in choir and you fit the description, yes, they are selective. If you fit the description, I encourage you. We'll put all the contact information in the show notes. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to learn more from me. I'm share with you about my experience as well. But it has been wonderful, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing. And where were you 20 years ago? Oh yeah, you were climbing the corporate ladder. Okay.
yes.
Um, with that, I want to transition. This is the Money Script podcast. If it's your first time listening, we are here to bring you a dose of financial literacy and also to share some stories from other individuals that are that are walking on the earth. Not everyone that we talk to is from financial services. We've had folks in medical field, technology. We even had people that don't have a job at all. They're just trying to figure a way to get by, and that was an interesting episode. She shared with us how she eats on $50 a month, and she eats good too. I'm still trying to work on $50. I can't do
Dang.
that in like 2 days, but so yeah,
Wow.
so we like to bring different perspectives here and give you that little dose of financial literacy. So with every episode, if this is your first time listening, with every episode, we do ask our guests to share with our audience their first memory of money. We want to get these different stories about memory of money because we feel that fits into your money script. It's how you think about money today. So many times we find that our guests, their first memory of money is still tied to their relationship they have with money today. So we encourage you, as you're hearing these stories, especially if you're a parent, think about the impact that you're having on your children or the people that are watching you when you're introducing them to money, because someone's going to introduce that child to money. Hopefully it's you, and hopefully it's positive. So with that, Sonya, what is your first memory of money?
Oh, it's funny and kind of embarrassing, but
Oh, we like these.
yeah. um so, and in context for like parents teaching about money, my dad is a financial planner, so we definitely had conversations about money growing up and was very open about it, and I definitely have learned so much from him, and about, oh my gosh, I mean, that could be a whole other episode, all the things I've learned from my dad, just not from him as a financial planner. He's not my financial planner. I do have a financial planner, just not dad. I didn't want to mix those, but just living with somebody like learning by example from somebody who knows all about money. But my first money memory is actually I used to get a little allowance every I think it was like 50 cents a week or something like that. And I kept it in a little tiny Tupperware with a lid in my room. And I
Airtight.
was, oh yeah, nobody's going to get to that. It was
Yeah.
secure. And I was saving up one winter for a tiny Christmas tree, one of those like like alive miniature. I don't know. I saw it at the nursery or I saw it somewhere, and I needed to have this thing. It was expensive. It was like $12 or something. That's a
That's a
lot
lot
of
of weeks.
yeah, that's a lot of
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah. And I did the math on that. That was a lot of weeks. And so I told my brother that he should co-invest with me. And so I started getting him to put his allowance into my little Tupperware too, so that I
You
could.
didn't provide him a prospectus before this investment or anything?
Mm-mm,
There was
mm-mm. He
no
just had to
blue
trust.
sky. Okay, just had the trust. Okay, all right.
He had to trust. And I was getting close to the $12, and at the sort of close to the last minute, he wanted his money back, and I was pissed.
Those
I was
investors. That's see that you should have given him a prospectus to let him know that his money was not redeemable.
no, no,
Yeah.
but no, my parents made me give him his money back. And
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how, but I did end up getting enough money to buy one. I bet my parents probably gave me like extra chores that I could do to earn more money. That would be my guess. I don't remember how, but I did buy it. I got my little tree. It had these little styrofoam present ornaments already on it, and it was so good. And then after Christmas, I planted it in my parents' backyard, and it grew and was huge for years. Yeah, they ended up
mhm.
having to take it down probably, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago. They had to cut it down because it
Oh,
was
that's
like
incredible.
interfering with the electric lines and stuff. But it turned into a
That
huge
is
tree.
incredible. So you
He should have
you
stayed
actually
invested.
created a money tree. Look at
Mm,
that.
he should have stayed invested because look at that return on that.
Hey, look at that. He could have had a 12-foot tree in his yard. I mean,
But
in his house.
he did have it in his yard, and he didn't even have to pay for it as a thing.
Wow.
Uh,
That's incredible. That is
yeah,
awesome. That is such a
yeah,
cute story. I love
yeah,
that. Love
yes,
that. I love that.
yes.
Okay, rapid fire, really quickly, since you're
Go.
involved in financial services, rapid fire. If you could name the 3 conferences, if you're in financial services that you should check out, what would be the 3?
Oh gosh, don't make me do
Yes,
that.
I'm gonna make you do it. Come on, just what just
I'll
and
just
they don't have
I'll just tell you you could go to our website, to the
uh
choir website, and look at certified conferences and look at all the conferences
oh,
that
she
have.
has more than 3. There we
Mhm.
go.
We've got a
We
whole
will
list of
we will
events that have
put the
put in the
link.
work to make a, a thoughtful, inclusive, event with a diverse agenda, and I would say go to those, find the one that's the right fit for your, topic needs, and go support those choir certified events.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. I that might be one part of the website I haven't clicked on yet, so I will
Yeah,
definitely be
well,
clicking on that today.
the one we were talking about earlier, the Broadridge, well, before we hit record, the Broadridge 360 event is on there. That's one of them, and I'll be there. So, go to that one so I can say hi to folks.
Broadridge is an awesome company. I've been working with Broadridge personally since I got into that was one of the first resources that I had for mutual funds and investments. Everything's at Broadridge and
Oh
all
yeah,
the
how can you can't
everything
work
I
in this
learned.
industry without having crossed paths with Broadridge. You may not know it, but you
I
have
mean,
crossed paths with Broadridge. They are
yeah,
everywhere. It's kind of amazing.
everything I learned about products, tax, IRAs, Roth IRAs versus traditional IRAs, 401k, all of that came. It was all what I would do at the end of each week. I would go to my computer on a Friday night. We used to have phone clinics on Friday night. So after about 5:30, we're done with phone clinic. Everybody's headed to the bar. Hold on a second. And I'm printing out things from Broadridge to take home and read over the weekend.
Oh,
Yeah, Broadridge was And that was my financial encyclopedia. And then clients would say, "How do you know all this stuff?" I was like, "I don't. I just know where to find it.
Yeah. I
That's
was on
all."
Investopedia a lot early in my career. I was all
Uh,
over that. I didn't know anything
I
about
didn't find
anything.
Investopedia to probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I knew they were out there. It would pop up every now and then, but I was Broadridge was just my place to go. Broadridge,
Yeah.
Broadridge, Broadridge. So
Oh, that's so nice. I'm gonna tell the folks there that you said so.
yeah, yeah, no, they're a wealth of information. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for spending some time with us on the Money Script podcast. For those of you, again, that want to learn more about how you can get in front of more individuals if you're a public speaker, if you want to learn to be a public speaker and you are of the diverse background, or if you're in an industry, as she mentioned, she may not be in your industry yet, but she'd love to get that email of an industry that they should be in, because as was mentioned, we want to make sure we want to help that when things are being presented by companies, by these organizations at these conferences, that it reflects what America really looks like. And that does a lot for the folks that are coming up behind us, and it does a lot for the folks that are already there. So again, I appreciate you for the work that you're doing in this industry. Please keep it up. I look forward to seeing you in Austin.
Yeah.
We'll have to grab a quick live little video while we're there so
Yeah,
we can
it'll be a pleasure.
throw it along beside this episode. And of course, if you want some of the resources, they'll all be in the show notes. But just in case this is someone that is driving and they just need to hear it said, Sonya, please tell everyone where they can find you.
Yep. We are at hellochoir.com. Unfortunately, we don't have just the choir.com domain. We tried to buy that when we first started. We put in a small offer, and the broker laughed at us and told us that would be a $1 million URL. So
Wow.
hellochoir.com is where you can find us. And then that's our handle on Instagram and Twitter, although I don't know that we're doing much on Twitter these days. And then LinkedIn, you can find us just at, I think it's just search for choir. And then I'm on most platforms too, and my first name, last name, and if you're driving, sorry, you probably are not going to remember, but it's SONYA DREIZLER, and you can find me on most platforms there.
And of course, you can just, when you stop driving, come back to the links. They'll all be, they will all be there.
There you go.
All right, we will see you next time on the Money Script podcast. Don't forget to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend to get their dose of financial literacy. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I'm back. Wasn't that a great show? I hope you learned something. I know I did. Now, before you go trying anything you heard today, remember, it is not intended to be specific tax or legal advice. If you need that, go see a CPA or an attorney. If you would like any complimentary consultation with a knowledgeable advisor, visit moneyscript.com and schedule a 15-minute consultation. Want Johans to come speak at your next event? Go to the Money Script website for that too. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. MoneyScript Wealth Management is a registered financial advisory service in multiple states. Want to learn more? Get the full disclosure on our website, moneyscript.com.